Hello, everybody. Welcome to another Facebook Live with Yasutomo and Karen Elaine. Hello, hello.
Hello, everybody.
Happy Friday. And today, as people are coming in, we'll just go ahead and kind of intro the demo. We're going to be playing with watercolors, and it's going to be super fun and colorful, as you can see. And Karen is going to be showing us all kinds of things that you could do with watercolor on washi, or Japanese rice paper, as it's more widely known, but we call it washi here. And there's the Shikishi boards that she has laid out on her table that are really beautiful, but you can use whatever you have on hand, get inspired, and maybe you'll want to try your hand using some of these materials later if you're inspired to. I'll be in the comments checking your comments, messages, any questions that you have. So feel free to write down anything that comes up over there. And I'll also be updating the products that Karen's using as she brings them up in a pinned comment. All right, thank you. Enjoy.
Thank you, Phoebe. I've got these little speakers going, and I'm in the zone now. And so those should shut off in a moment. If you hear some singing bowls in the background, that should shut off momentarily. This has been really fun preparing for today's demo, because I love watercolor so much, mostly on cotton paper, and I forget how much fun it is to do watercolor on washi paper, or rice paper, as it's known. So I'm just going to kind of go over some tips, maybe some exercises that might get you familiar. If you're already a sumi artist or someone who is very familiar with sumi materials, then this is probably a little strange because it's not traditional sumi-e. This is just watercolor on rice paper or washi paper. And I'm just going to show you the difference. Like I'll grab a quick little thing. This is just on cotton paper, and it's just watercolor on cotton. And what the cotton paper is, most watercolor papers, the paint or the watercolor floats on top, and the white of the paper becomes the white usually. So basically the reflection of the white that's underneath is what that light, nice, bright white is. Now with washi paper, what will happen is when you're working with it, so you'll notice, I'm going to just kind of bring these up close. Some of these are very spontaneous, very gestural, real quick little paintings that I did. And actually this one I really like. Once I mounted it on the board, this one I did on a plain piece of paper. I actually did it on one of these sheets. This is 6H, and I cut them down. This is our most inexpensive paper. And I was just playing, and because I was not really worried about a composition, I really loved what I did. I just did a very soft brush stroke to kind of indicate a floral thing. I don't even know what those are. They're not even flowers. But after those dried, or they became soaked into the paper enough, I did a kind of a linear kind of doodling with ink, actually with watercolor, but it was just darker. So that gave it a really fun abstract floral look, and the watercolor soaked into the paper, making a softer edge, softer highlights, just completely different. I did that with this one here. This one I painted directly on the board, which was scary because you think, oh no, the shikishis are so precious, and they are. They're made really gorgeous with little gold flecks on the back, and they come in different different types of paper. This is the smooth one, which Phoebe, if you could tell me the smooth of the
Hosho.
That's the Hosho. Okay. And the one that's not smooth, the one that's got the little texture, what's that one?
Gasen.
Thank you, the Gasen. Okay, I appreciate it. Because I always forget on these shikishis. But they're really fun. Shikishi boards are really fun to work with. I've got this one in a, let's see if I can grab one more. I've done it, stuff like this. We did a few maybe last year where I did watercolor and then inked over it. And that is another thing. This is a Torinoko, so that's got it does different things. So, but let's just do something really kind of fun that will start with getting familiar with the paper. And what I like to do are, like I did a bunch of these this week, little florals, little practice things, and now different papers will do different things. This is a piece of Kozo paper, I believe. And I noticed it didn't soak through. I'm not sure, maybe this isn't Kozo, it might be Asagami. I'll have to look because I've written, now I've got like, you'll see, I'll show you the different, how they are because I've labeled all the papers. But this one is on our new paper that we're going to get called Usugami, and it's a very transparent paper. So when I glue this down onto a collage, the edges will disappear. I'm really excited to use that. And these are just little quick little exercises, which I'm going to show you. Just simple little exercises that make the cutest little focal points for cards or collages, or just for fun. You know, you can put this on something and it'll totally change the way it looks. And I'll show you how I did those today, because it's really a process of making the marks and then turning them into something else. So I'll put that off to the side, and I'm going to show you how I just start. So this is 6H, and I'm going to use two different kinds of watercolors today. I'm going to use the Gansai watercolors, which are from Japan. This is our WC2. Oh, I will. Phoebe, if you can tell me what.
WC211.
Thank you. I always say the wrong one, but anyway, yeah. This is like a traditional Gansai set with the red, and you've got the kind of the crimson colors, and I might have switched out some colors. This might not even be the true set, so I apologize. I've got like so many colors, sometimes I switch them out with other colors that may not be in the set. So I think it's close. There's a white in here, which I really love for working on rice paper. I never use white on cotton paper, never, but I do use it for the rice paper. And then the reason being is it brings back these highlights and it creates layers. And that's what these little white pieces here. I think this one has a little white in it as well, and some gold. So you just need the white. It's nice to have because you can make pastel colors, which really look great on this paper. So 6H, let's do some little, I don't know, exercises. Like I'm going to make some blooms, and I'm going to use, I've got traditional Asian brushes, which is our Wa Fude line. I love these. And I'm going to use only these I use for watercolor. I don't like to mix my Sumi ink, which is really carbon-based, really heavy and hard to get out of the brushes. So I use this set only for watercolors. I save my ink ones in a different wrap. And I'm also going to probably use a few of my fusion brushes here. And I've got some brushes I know that we don't have, but they're brushes that we're probably going to bring in, like this shape, which is a shading brush. We'll be bringing that in the future. So I'm going to show you why brushes, there's so many. Why do we have so many brushes? Well, they all have a purpose. And that's especially for people who are Sumi artists, but even for people who are going to do watercolor on washi paper, you're going to need these brushes, and I'll kind of explain why. There's some interesting things, and if you don't know already, but let's start. If you're going to paint with me, you need plenty of water because these Gansai watercolors are pretty opaque. So your water is going to get really murky really fast. So I always have 3 jars. I've got, one off to the side, you don't see them, but 1, 2, 3 jars. And I'm gonna like the 3 little, 3 little Goldilocks and the 3 bears. I got the, 3, one for the muddiest. Then I basically clean in the 3 stages. If I want to make go from one color to the next, especially if it's a complementary color, just want to get that stuff out of the way or clean. Now the golds and the silvers I like to use as highlights as well. So we've got these wonderful watercolors that are in these ceramic dishes. We've had them for years. I love them. They're fantastic for making highlights and little if you don't want to use a pen, let's say, pens can be very unreliable, right? They clog. I mean, I love these pens, but once in a while, your Poscas and these pens do get clogged, and I'm not going to deal with clogging today. I just want to be able to make, nice highlights. So I'm going to use just inks today, or not, just Gansais. And I need a paper towel. Now I've got a black, if you notice, I have a felt underneath. You can buy this felt at any, lots of Japanese stores have these, that they're matte that you would use. You can buy these at Hobby Lobby, Michael's, craft stores, Joann's, but it's just felt. And it gives me an absorbent surface because most of the papers that in our line, in fact, all our washi papers are all different levels of absorbency. Here I was playing this morning with the 6H. This is our 6H, and it soaks right through. It looks almost like double-sided. I mean, you can barely tell the difference. And I just made circles, and I'm going to show you that making circles is a really interesting way of learning brush control and water control. But what's really interesting, making a circle on the washi paper is so much different than one on cotton paper. You'll notice, you'll see your brush stroke. It doesn't hide your brush stroke, which I think is really beautiful because it's like shows this the soul of the brush stroke. If you can see that, I hope you see that. The way it just shows what I did. I can't hide it. So that's what I love about it. Now, and then there's other papers like the Washi paper. It's very delicate, but once it's actually strong, but it's very delicate when it's wet. But once it's dry again, you can get very beautiful looks. And I think I doubled this one up. No, just want to make sure it's not two sheets. This one also has a little bit of sizing. You can see I painted it very wet bloom, and it didn't really soak through all the way like the 6H did. I'm going to show you examples. Oh, I'll just start doing it. I'll start painting. So since you already know what this 6H looks like, I'm going to go ahead and pull out some Gasen paper, which is a really gorgeous paper in our line. I cut it down. It's much larger. I think this is a full sheet, so you can see the full size sheet is like this. So if you feel, adventurous and you want to paint a whole painting, or you want to paint a lot of balloons on one sheet, this is the size. And if you want to tell, Phoebe, if you could tell what size the original size is, that would be great. If you're there.
What was that?
Oh, the size of the Gasen paper, the actual.
Oh, the size of the regular sheet. They
Yeah.
are, I think they're 9.5 by 10 3/4.
Got it. Thank you. So they're not 8.5 by 11. They're a very different size, but they're very beautiful to paint on. I'm just going to show you the smaller sheet because I want to do a lot of things today. So this one, I'm going to do some fun things with making bloom shapes using my brush. I'm going to try, actually, I'll start with a larger brush. This one's the Wa Fude 5. It's pretty large. And I kind of wanted to share with you a thing that I like to do. Now, these brushes have their own personality in so many ways. You can make all kinds of lines out of the hairs if you spread them apart, which I did in an example here. And really, if I show you something and you want to see how it's, when I show you an example and you want to see it demonstrated, please ask, because I'm here to help you on your journey here. You see these little lines here that are on the gold lines? Those were made by me dipping this brush in just like this into the gold that has been so dissolved in water, and then I just dragged it, did a little mark making across that, which I think is really fun. So these were just done with brush, just a brush, tip of a brush, and these were done with the whole side of the brush. So let me know if there's anything you want me to do. Otherwise, I'll just do my thing. I'm going to take my brush, and it's really important to, when you're working with this stuff, and if you have regular watercolors, it will work the same. So I'm just, I'm going to just do this for a while with the Gansai, and then I'm going to switch over to the Niji watercolors just to show you that you don't have to have all this stuff to make something happen. So what I like to do always is dissolve my color paints. I like to just give them a little spritz just to get them wet. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to do like a thing where I take, I'm going to take this palette, and I'm going to make a kind of a interesting combination of colors here. I've got yellow, lots of, and really these brushes soak up a lot of color. So when you're working with these, you've got lots of paint in here. And I actually could do a bloom right now. In fact, I might do that because I don't want to waste the paint. I'm just going to kind of dip it into this darker yellow right here. And then I'm going to make a little kind of a flower shape. And it's just by taking my brush And I'm just going to kind of scooch it. You see, now I'll do a little bit here. I'll put some red in there too. Here, I'll do it again. There, just so you can see that little tip. I'll do it again. And this is a really big one, as you can see. I'm tipping it in the red. I'm going to rotate my paper. So I've got a really large bloom here. And I'm just going to, and I've got the yellow. It's fully loaded with the yellow, and it's fine. I'm just going to tip it again in the red. And then I'm just kind of scooching it around, making a petal. Now that is going to show when it dries, it's going to leave like a little soft edge, very soft, but I have this nice little red thing going on here. And I noticed I didn't do that on the first one. So I'm going to see if I can cheat a little bit and put a little bit of that red right in here. Yep, I was able to. There we go. And you can just use that brush, to make shapes like this one. I was using that brush to create these petal shapes, which, you know, we try this with another brush, it won't work. So there's that one. It's pretty big. So that brush is going to make that big of, just going to happen that big. Now I'm going to clean my brush out, and I'm going to just reshape it like this, and I'll put it back for another use. But I'm going to go down to a smaller brush, this one here, just to show you. I'm going to do the same thing with a smaller brush, and you'll see what happens. It's kind of fun. So I'm going to take a little bit of water in that one, and I'm going to use the yellow that I mixed up over here. And I might even mix a little more. I like that golden yellow a little bit more than just that lemon yellow. So I kind of mixed it with a little orange. And these colors are highly mixable as long as you mix them in the same family. Like, you know, the orange and the yellow will mix beautifully. You just don't want to mix the orange and the green, orange and blue, because it won't make a very pretty color. It won't make one at all. So I'm just going to take that. I dipped it in the yellow. You can see I've got it fully loaded, and I'm just going to tip it in that gorgeous bright red. You can see I've got it tipped. Now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to start a bloom right over here, and I'm just going to lay it down. I've got this size. Just kind of not be perfect. I want to, you know, be a little bit, move my brush around a little bit. So it's just not a perfect shape. I kind of want it to look sort of organic. It's almost too perfect. And look, if you notice, I have gotten almost the whole thing on one dip. It was a little dry on there, but that kind of makes it even look more normal. I like that. I like that a lot. That's 4 petals. So I'll try another one. Try it again. This time I'm going to load it. I'm going to mix this up a little bit and show you how lovely these mix. So here's the yellow, and I'll put a little bit of that, and I've got this nice pretty orange, very pretty, which is not in the set, of course. And then I'm going to dip it in this beautiful deep one of these reds. I don't know which one yet. So I'm going to take this, and now I want to load it good. If I can get all 4 petals out of it. And then I'm just going to dip it right into the tip, just tip only. And I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to be a little bit more scrunchy. It's too perfect. Wait a minute. There we go. And so I've got a totally different colored flower now. And I'm going to rotate my paper because it's just easier for me to do it this way. And I may run out of paint, but we'll see. We'll see. Maybe not. And I'm trying to leave an edge. Nope, didn't run out. And I like that edge. Now these need to dry, so you can see the Gasen paper, how absorbent it is. It's almost the same color on both sides. It's interesting. I'm going to leave these blooms alone, and I'm going to show you the same thing on a paper that is less, just a different kind of paper. This is the Washi. And you notice it doesn't soak all the way through. So I'm going to go ahead and just load my brush the same way. I'm going to maybe do another mixture here of that orange color. And really, these go a long way. If you add a lot of water, you'll get a very subtle color, and then really straight out of the tray is really intense. So you might want to think, you know, when you're using this, just kind of use it sparingly to get, you know, much more color variations that way. So I'm going to do something similar. I'm just going to lay it down and kind of squish, and maybe this time I'm going to be a little more, there we go. Just a little more expressive. Just kind of, there we are. Yeah, I like that. So you can see that how it actually blended much better. There's a little more spread a little less soaking through. So I'm getting a little more of what, watercolors do. Now I've tried to do this on cotton paper, sized paper, and it just doesn't work because it doesn't soak in, and this gradation doesn't happen as well. It just kind of I could show you, it just isn't as exciting. It's not as satisfying as that. I'll let all these dry, and actually I'll show you what I would do in the next step. These are dry already. This is going to take about 20 minutes and we won't have time. But I want to show you kind of the next step I do with these so that if you want to make these kinds of fun little blooms, you can do that. I'm going to take a little brush here. This is a little fusion brush, and I'm going to create little, and these that are already formed and dry. I'm going to just grab a color out of this, and I could do dark colors or I can go light. And I think on this one, I may try to do a darker color. Let's see. I'm going to grab a color that it's not in our mix, but I'm going to do it because it's purple already. And I don't have time to make anything else, but you could use purple in your, hey, why not? I'll just use this too. I've got purple in here. I can use that, or I can you can mix. I'm just letting you know, you can intermix all these colors together. They're totally compatible. So you can have watercolors and Gansai together and you won't have a problem. They're awesome. So I'm just putting a little purple because I just want to make a little purple sort of thing going here. And I'm just going to draw a little purple lines from the center going out. So you can doodle kind of, and you can see how fine of a line I get there. You're able to get fine lines on the washi paper. There's two things I can share with you that make it work. One is the amount of water you load your brush up with. If you have too much water, you'll get a blurry line unless it's sized. If you have little amount of water and you go quickly, you can get really fine lines, which is fabulous. I'm going to just take this little part and I'm going to put a little some indigo. I think this is indigo. I'm just basically want to darken, kind of create some little marks right in the center. And I may go lighter, but later you can, but what's nice about this is you can layer, which is nice. If you don't like an area, like you thought, I went too dark, I can always come back and add more color. So you can build layers with this, just like you would with an oil paint, basically. I mean, it's amazing. Not really not like an oil paint, but certainly different than regular watercolor because the paint is going into the paper, which doesn't float on top. It's going to go in. Now this one is not as much. So if I take this, which is the soaky, it's the more absorbent one, and I'm going to just do a layer to show you. If I wanted to do a layer or a doodle or a line over it, I'm just going to grab some dark color here. And I'm kind of controlling the amount of water. I don't have too much water. I have to wipe off some of the excess. I don't want too much. And I'm going to do like a little, maybe a flower inside this, or I don't know. What am I going to do here? Decisions. I'm not going to make one. So I'm just drawing a little kind of spirally sort of interesting orbital. I don't know what that is, but it's a scribble. And I'm able to get a very nice, pretty fine line because I went quickly and you notice it didn't soak through. Part of the reason is that there's already color down and it kind of sealed it a little bit. The other thing is I went fairly quickly, much quicker than I did when I made the circle. I'll show you another fun thing. If you use metallics and you go a little slower, because you want that to soak in rather than just floating on top. I'm going to do like a little sort of doodle on this one. And I'm just going to take maybe little marks, like little gold hatch marks here. And see how you can change the whole look of the piece by just making these marks and layers on your circles. I don't know if that soaked in. It probably didn't. Nope. The reason it didn't, like, I think for sure it's because of the paint has sort of sealed that paper a little bit more. Or you can do something like this, take a similar color and then just layer with a similar color over it. So this one has an orange, and I could do like little marks over this, and it's going to soak in and create a new layer. It looks like an orange slice or something. Reminds me of an orange anyway. So you can doodle using the rice paper or the washi as well. I can go outside the lines, make it more interesting. And let's see, I'm going to grab a red color, this pretty magenta. And I'll just make another circle. And I'm making a nice little line. So doodling is fun. I'm going to also show you the white. The white that I use in the Gansai set. I think you want to see that. It's nice and opaque and it dissolves really fast. It's different than a gouache because with a gouache that you would find, you'd put it out, squeeze it out of the tube, or an ink may spill. This dissolves, it's creamy. It is fantastic and it's very opaque on the washi paper. So I'll sort of show you what I mean. I'll just do some little white dots in here just for fun. But you can see how nice and opaque they are, and they'll dry nice and opaque. You can do the same thing on any of these. Let's see. I can go in here and make little white dots. But you can kind of see where you can go with this, little marks. And you can create doodly, fun little focal points that you may want to use for other things. And I'm going to show you what I've done. I've got an idea anyway. I haven't made it yet, but I think it's going to look really fun, and I'm going to show you that. But
Hey, Karen,
yes.
I don't know if I quite caught it right, but for the flowers, I wasn't sure if you were going to go back to them or not, but someone
Yes.
did really want to see the technique that you had mentioned about getting the gold details with the kind of drier brush.
Yes, let's do that. So what we'll do, I'm gonna do it on this little circle, even though it's just a circle, but it's dark enough so you'll be able to see it. Or I can even do it on one of these leaves. That would be fun. So this is, actually I can't do it on this leaf because I already sealed it with some stuff, but I'll do it on this so you can see. Okay, I'm happy to share with you that technique. It's so much fun. So you know how a lot of people think, oh, you have to have a flat brush. You don't need a flat brush. You need a brush like this, and it needs to be damp. So I'm going to create my own shape here, and I've got, like, if you see, there's kind of like that jaggedy edge, which you can do when you smush these brushes a little bit. They come to a really nice point when they're this way, but now I've got myself a new tool, basically, by doing that. I'm going to take some gold, and I'm going to take this gold because it's nice and bright, and it will dissolve really fast. This is our which one is that? WC something, 211.
1658. Over. Sorry, are you talking about this gold one?
This is the gold one, yeah.
Yeah, that should be the reddish gold, right?
No, this is actually the yellow, the regular gold. I don't think it's the red gold.
There's a pale gold, which is really light, and then there's a reddish gold.
Yeah, this one looks like kind of the pale gold to me. It might be, yeah.
Okay, I'll update that. And everybody, just so that everybody knows, I do list the products that Karen's showing in a pinned comment, and then afterward, in a pinned comment on the comment section of the live stream. And then afterward, I do go ahead and update the products that she used in a blog post that we put up on our site. We've tried to do it beforehand, but it's just that in the live sessions, everything kind of gets really organic. And so we kind of switch up the product sometimes, but
let's just say I surprise you, don't I? Whatever I can bring out. Okay.
Yeah, so there will be a list of products. Yeah,
cool.
But
now let me just show you one way. This wastes a lot of color, but it's very effective. I'm going to show you. I mean, I can always put it back in there, like I'm putting a lot of the color back in. And I'm also shaping my brush. Look at that shape. Look at that. It's almost like a perfect zigzag stitch, right? So I'm going to take on a darker, maybe on this one, if you could even, it won't work because I already did something to it. Okay, I'm going to use it on a darker circle here, maybe this little red one. And I'm going to do, there we go. So you can see, to make those little lines, I'm just going to do a line across. Let's see, from here to here. Now that was, see how I just made that shape right there? Isn't that beautiful? Now that's just one way. You can just keep, you can do it like this. You can make little cross hatches, just kind of shape your brush. And this brush is much softer than the one this one I'm going to show you. But it works too. You can do it. So I'll just move this over here and I'm going to do it right there. I wish I could show you close up. Let's see. You can see how if you just do a controlled line, you can make little shapes. You can do more grassy kind of stuff like here. I'm just doing it over something dark so you can see. There we go, over that gray. I'm just going to kind of keep doing it until it stops making marks. This looks like a donut. But you could see I'm able to get the shape. Now you can do that with other colors too, not just gold. I mean, any color. So I'm going to save that because it's precious gold. And I'm going to show you the same thing with the one that I already dipped with water. It's damp, so I can form it. Because a dry brush does not form. See, it doesn't do it. Like our hair, you know, we can mold our hair. Well, at least some of us, maybe not mine. But there it is. I've made my little brush. Now I'm just going to dip the ends, and that saves a lot of paint, believe me. But this is a different gold, and I'm going to show you this gold between this one and this one. But let's see, I'm going to put it on a dark. Where can I put it just so you can see? Let's do it on this gray circle. You know, I'm just going to put little marks here. And now you see the marks I made on that. And then when it dries, it should be a little brighter. And next one is this one. I'm going to show you this. We've got different golds. We also have silver. And so you can get different effects based on the whatever you want. So I'm going to just take that and spread it out a little bit more, controlling my distance of between the hairs, and then I'm just going to take there. That's the one I wanted to do.
All
I'm
right,
just
Karen,
going to
could I
like
also ask what size Wa Fude that is too? Because I think people love knowing which size you're using.
This is the number 5. It's the
Okay.
yeah, it's the biggest one after the little ones. Oops, I put it in the wrong gold. Uh-oh, that's not going to hurt, but I just wanted to. There we go. I'm making there. I've got it, and I'm going to just do little lines, little marks that look really fun and organic. And you can make this with, like I said, darker colors. There it is. You can see. So you kind of, and if you load it up enough so that there's enough liquid or enough color, you probably should do this with a dark color so you can see it. You can actually get lines, like little lines. Let's see. I'm going to just spread that open a little bit so you can control this, whatever you're doing here. I'm just going to do this across. It didn't work on that. And that is just not enough paint. Plus this soaks in. So I want a paint that's or a paper that's not going to be as absorbent. And there's plenty of washi papers that aren't as absorbent. So let me just clean that out. And I'm going to show it to you at the darker color, just so you can kind of see that technique. And I'll put it on. There we go. Clean up. Basically, I'm going to get that so it's not sopping wet, but damp. And I'm going to make it, spread it apart, and then I'm going to load it with my brush or with watercolor. And I'm going to spread it again just to get those lines. And I'm going to try this on another piece so that I can move on. And then you can just make lines going across. So this is what I love about this. And then I can make other things happen. Like this could be a really nice background for something. But it had a different color, possibly. But there, and then you can also crisscross, create, texture, and see how much I use. That was on one dip, and then I can just go across, and really, it's amazing what you can make textural with just this brush, with a brush like that. So let's move on. I'm hoping that I got you there. I hope that was good. Now this. I love, but it's just too dark. I got a little too dark on that. So I'm going to grab what did I do with it? I mean, I thought I was organized. Oh, there it is. I'm going to grab some silver, or I can grab some white actually, no, I'm going to grab the white out of this. This is we have this in stock. I love it. So if you want to bring a color back or some highlighting, you can always go back as long as that's dry. And I'm able to get these really super nice little detailed dots, which completely changes that. It makes it really nice. That's still wet. I can't do anything with that one. I can be whimsical. I don't have to make it look realistic by any means. I'll just take this and you'll notice this color, these watercolors, the Gansai watercolors, they get really creamy and really thick. So you could make almost like a paste but I'm just going to do like a dark kind of center just to make it look better. And then I'm going to add a little black, and I'll do that same dark center in this one, just a little dark center. And then that has to dry completely before I do the next layer on that one. But that's how I do these. This one is still, I'll try the center, still a little bit wet, but I just did that center, and I'll wait for the next thing. What else? I'm going to grab some more paper. Oh, Kozo. You've got to try the different papers real quick. There's Asagami, which I think this is a very almost like real watercolor paper. It's very highly sized. I'm going to grab just this brush here. This is just a Fusion number 5, and I'm going to use regular watercolors just to show you how this paper works. And I'm going to do, why not, since we're on a flower kick, I might as well do some flowers. And I'm just going to take this and mix it up in a tray, because trying to mix it up in this little half pan, it won't be such a great thing. Now, these brushes don't hold nearly the water that the Wa Fude brushes hold, so you're gonna have to dip it more often. So I'm going to take this, and I don't even think I can dip it. I'm just going to see what happens. So I'm going to do a little bloom, and you see how it's floating on top? I don't know if you see that. See, it's just moving, it's floating on top. Nope, there's nothing soaking through. And it works more, it's kind of working to me more like a cotton watercolor paper. So now in this one, I can dip afterwards. I mean, I can do the shading afterwards, and it's going to move. Can't do that with the 6H or the Gasen. So this is Asagami, and I think it's a gorgeous paper because it really just reminds me of watercolor paper, except it's more kind of oops, that's 2. I've got 2 sheets. Now here, look, it didn't soak through, which is miraculous, but it won't soak through at all. And it's thin, it's really kind of translucent. So let's say you wanted to trace something, you can actually sit something underneath and kind of get a guide for your painting. I'm just going to do another petal here. I'm just going to kind of do a double, kind of looks like a heart. I'm going to do this, let's see, maybe one more time. I'm going to do another set here. So there's really 6 petals. Just kind of I'm just letting the brush kind of do its thing. This is what I'm doing is more what I would do with cotton watercolor. I'm actually kind of manipulating the paint outward a little bit. There. I can't do that with the other, I just can't. Here we go. I wanted to make that a little wonky on purpose. And then I'm going to put some of the dark color in, and then let that sit and let it float. It should just dry however it's going to dry. Just so you know, this one here is done on that paper. So see how it kind of looks more like watercolor. It's really pretty. I'll let that dry, and then I can do detail. And I also can do things like on this that I couldn't do with watercolor or with the other more absorbent papers, is I can pull up color that, or kind of take some of those puddles out. There we are. Now it's not so puddly. And I'll let that dry, and I'll do another layer, and then I can make another flower. So now that you kind of got, an idea of how the papers are working, let's see, Kozo, that's a good one. I'm gonna make sure we try them all. Another one, Kozo. This one's another it's a fabulous paper. It's gonna accept the color so much differently. I'm gonna try a brush that's made for shading, but we're gonna get this in the next, probably by next spring. I'm just gonna show you how there's such a variety of color or brushes that give you different shapes. So this will be one that's coming. This one I've had for probably 20 years or so, and called it a plum brush, I think, a plum flower brush. It's also known as a shader. So just taking any of the colors, I kind of like what's happening in here. So I'm going to grab this little yellow, and I'm going to tip it right here in the purple color. And I'm going to create a shape of a balloon. And this, you see what it just did? It just kind of, wow, soaks. It totally spread. So this is something that it basically, I think I had too much water in it, but I kind of like it. It just it's a different feel. And I'll show you what happens when you do, I'll do smaller like petals, little brief little petals like this. So basically I'm practicing for my other one. I can do small little, those are really spreading, but that'll be fun because they're very soft. And then I can come back later with something a little more detailed just for that. You know, just kind of loosey-goosey, kind of petally shapes, petal little shapes. Let's see, grab this one. I'm gonna just pop some deeper red in that. And this one you can also kind of do more blotting, like here, I'm gonna put some red in here and repeat the same thing, but it's on the inside and it's just gonna kind of blend. So that's one way you can blend as well. I'll just do that, same thing. And then as you start to build layers, the spreading will kind of slow down because of the medium that's in the watercolor. So that's kind of fun. And now if I want to have some light, like thin lines, I can use any kind of thin brush. And I'll take some green color here and maybe a little dark color. And I'm going to go quickly and I'm going to make, this is kind of how I would do a painting if I were practicing, but I'm going to practice some, oops, that's spontaneous. I'm just going to practice some lines. You see how I'm able to make fine lines by going quickly. I'm loading up the brush, not as much water, but I'm able to load that up and create lines. I'm going to create some leaves also. And I'm going to just use this brush that I already had gold in it. Maybe I'll mix it with the gold. That would be pretty. Kind of put it, just let it kind of mingle in that tray. And this one I'm loading up pretty well. And I'm going to just kind of make some leaves. Let's see what I've got here. I'm just going to go kind of, woo, look at that. A little bit of that gold floating in that. Did you see what I got? I just love that. Now that was a happy accident. I had no plan on that one. And there we go, another one. Oh, that is so pretty. So that paint, the gold sinks right in, and you'll see, or not, yeah, the gold floats more. I'm sorry, the gold has lighter, but look at the edge. It just made this amazing little edge on the paper. Wow. That's something I never did before. So I love it when I do that stuff.
That is very cool.
We discover
Karen,
things.
kind of like in contrast to this one, because the koza is so absorbent,
Yeah.
could we also make time, because someone was asking about seeing the difference between the 3 sized papers, which is the asagami, the gasen, and then the torinoko, which is the most sized.
Got it. All right. So we've got asagami. Okay, gasen. What was the other one? Gasen. Here we go.
Gasen, asagami, and torinoko.
All right. Asagami, gasen, torinoko. Got it. All right. I'm just grabbing my little thing here. I think I have one of each, so I've got plenty. All right, where are you? That's 6H. Okay, torinoko. There's the asagami, and let's grab the gasen, which is, I think, it's one. I had it a second ago in my hand, and there it is. Well, I've got this example, so I can do a little bit of stuff on it. Okay.
Is it possible to like label them or something too? I don't know if you have a pen on hand, because I know it's all watercolors today.
Yeah, so I did it with pencil because,
Oh,
but it's very small and hard to read, but I can read it, so I can tell you. But yeah, I can do a bigger illustration. I can do it with ink, so you can see it, or with color, so you can see it better. So I'll go ahead and I'm going to do a little thing. I'm going to move these out of the way. And we've got asagami. I'm going to move that. All right, asagami, gasen, and torinoko. Okay, so these 3, you could see so far what happened here. I'll do the same stroke on all 3, or the same thing. There we go. So torinoko, gasen. Let me just move this torinoko in the middle. And if I had a fresh sheet of gasen, I know I do. There it is. I think that's a fresh sheet, I hope. Looks like it. That's gasen. Okay, so I've got a full, I'm just going to fold it in half. And there we go. All right, fresh sheets, and I'm just going to write their names down in large letters. And you'll see also when I'm doing that, how they react when I go quickly. So this one is, I'm not using ink, but I'm just using the watercolor. So this one is gasen. There we go. My nice and big. You can see I can write nice and big. And Torinoko, I'm using the same thing. Now this one you can see it is floating. I can Torinoko. I can take my time with the thing and it's not going to change the it's not going to spread. This one, let me show you something. If I put my paper down, it's not spreading that much. Wait a minute. The more water I put in it, the more it spreads. There you go. So the more wet it is, the more it spreads. And it still is definitely, yeah, there it is. Now this is the asagami. So I'm going to do the same thing and I'll just write asagami. This one also is a very, feels very sized. And it also doesn't soak through, but I'm going to wet my brush really, just wet it. I'm going to lay the brush down and see what happens. So nothing spreads. And I get these nice little marks. And on this one, I'll just lay it down. And this is a really good way just to kind of play with the papers, make marks, and get familiar with your products, and then paint. So this one's soaking in, and it actually makes the black look blacker. It's very interesting. All right. And now I'm going to use, I've got a brush that's already loaded. I might as well just use that. I'm going to make a little mark here, like a little petal shape on these. So that one soaked right in, like it just absorbed it like beautifully. And this one made a little halo around. And this one is more kind of a more opaque paper, and this one is a little more translucent and a little more fibrous, it looks like to me. So now let's try some flowers. Maybe not so big. Here we go. You see this one. So you saw how I did that one. Let's try I'll just do the same thing using, let's do something, whatever I have here. I'm just going to take that color and I'm going to put it in here, this tray. And I'm going to take this one. I'm going to spritz it with a little bit of, there we go. And there we go. And a little tip. And I'm going to make a flower, kind of a small little bloom. There we go. Yep, that's pretty. It just soaks right in. And here we go. You can do them however you want them, but that's how Gasen reacts, and it soaks beautifully. I'll try to do the same technique with the Torinoko, and you'll see what happens. It's totally different. It spreads. It's just different. It's like working on a regular watercolor paper, but it does something, and it looks different when it's dry. So it should float out to the edges a little bit, but it's going to take a while for that to dry. And the same thing here. I just repeat, and I'm getting the same thing. Oops. All right, that one has a little bit more absorbency, just a little bit, so it's taking my watercolor a little bit nicer than this one. Just as a heads up, asagami is, for me, at least what I'm finding that's pleasing is the asagami and the gasen. For me, for this type of work, is just really fun. Okay, so those three. Now, I wanted to share with you real quick, what do you do with all these doodles, right? What do you do with all this stuff? Well, I've got plans. I wanted to show you, I had done this actually, this is a watercolor that I did with a jelly, I don't know, it wasn't a jelly print. I just took watercolor over a stencil or watercolor background, and then I stenciled it off. We showed that 2 weeks ago. The same idea is putting a stencil over watercolor and then lifting it with a sponge. That's what I did with this background. And I thought it was really a cool background. And then when I did these funky little circles just with my, this is Gasen. I did these funky looking little circles, and I thought, this would be fun to make a card that's kind of just abstract, kind of simple. And I'm going to show you real quick, because we don't have a lot of time. We've got just a few minutes to go. It's amazing how this hour just flies by, and I'm going to make sure I stop exactly, at the right time. So I'm going to take a flat brush, which I've got in my stash here somewhere, I know. There it is. And it's a small flat brush, which we're bringing in, by the way. This is a little flat 1/4 inch or 1/2 inch, sorry. And I'm using some nori paste, and I'm going to use the nori paste on the back of this. And I'm going to grab sheet paper just to get, see, I don't want to use that
What
one.
kind of paper did you use for those circles?
Gasen.
Gasen, thank you.
But 6H would be just fine. If you already have 6H, and 6H is a lot less pricey, use 6H because it's going to give you the same kind of soft focused area. Now I can't tell which side's, oh, there we go. That's the wrong side. So I'm putting some nori paste on this. Now you could use a glue stick. You could use matte medium, whatever you want. I'm just going to put it on this card. And what I love about nori is I can move it around, lift it off if I change my mind. That's why I like it so much. And I'm just creating a little new card, and I'm just going to dampen my brush just a tiny bit. I don't want it too soaking wet, because then I'll have to put this card in a little flat place. Now I can get the nori paste on the front of it. It won't hurt, just like matte medium. But it's removable and resoluble, which matte medium is not. So you can't like lift, like right now I want to lift it and change my mind, which I don't want to. I like it, but you could if I wanted to. I could move it around, but I like it where it is, so I don't want to mess with it. And but I see I have glue on here. I don't worry about it. I'm just going to put that over the glued spot because it's not going to tear the paper. It's very good for this washi paper. And I'm able to make this funky, fun little abstract thing out of doodles that I was just playing with. And it's almost like a finished, piece of abstract art. I don't know which one I want to do, that one or this one. I kind of like that one. I just changed my mind. And I'm just going to go put a little bit of that on. And now I've got this. So you can see how much fun that is. And what I'll do now, kind of fuse it, will kind of blend. So it's so thin that once I flatten this in the card, I'll flatten it between some things. And I've got this fun little card that I can give to somebody. I could put words in here or I just leave it alone. And I love that. And then another thing I wanted to share is how, before I go, we've got a minute. If you've got a piece of Shikishi board like this, okay, and you have a piece of a painting that you love, or that you did, and you thought, oh, I want to put that on my thing. Let's see what I'm gonna do. I know I had one anyway. I wanted to mount the picture. I guess I can do this one. I don't really like that one. Oh, here it is. It's right in front of me. Silly me. Okay, so the paper, I'm going to use that one. I might as well. It's what I have. So you can just take this paper, and I'm going to just take a little water to it. It's not going to hurt it because the watercolor is in there. And this is Washi paper, by the way. This is made from Washi. It's one of our papers. So this was an origami I did. Now I should use a bigger brush than this, but I don't have it with me. So I'm going to not do it on I'm trying not to put it on the felt, but I need to get a good amount of glue on there. And it really would have been better to have a little bigger brush. But you can see, I'll just put it on. I can slather it on with my fingers, a brush. And I'm kind of going, I want to kind of have it wet. Wetter the better. And then that's actually making the fibers swell up a little, which is good. And I'm going to put a thin coat. I'm just going to check something. Okay. All right. Just going to kind of put a thin coat, and I can spread it with my fingers too, because it's not going to tear this paper. This nori paste won't, it won't get tacky and start tearing your paper. It's really super amazing for this. It's like, that's what these are made for. These are meant to be together. The nori paste and washi, definitely they're a match made in heaven. So as long as I keep this fairly stable, I mean, there we go. And I've got all the glue on there, I think. I want to make sure I get it totally covered. And if I don't have it totally covered, it won't stick to the shikishi. This is one way if you have a shikishi and you don't want to risk painting on it You can certainly do it this way. Paint something, and then if you love it, then you cut it down slightly smaller than the gold foil edges, just a little bit smaller. And then you make sure I got it all. Okay, then you take your Shikishi, move that out of the way, and I'm going to take that painting and I'm going to lay it on, and this will allow me to reposition. Try this with white glue. No, it won't work. And I'm just going to move it onto the, you can see I'm just putting, now I made it too big, but I have to trim it, or I'm just not going to worry about it. No, I'm not going to worry about it. Okay, so now it's on there, but I haven't really positioned it yet. And the best thing to do is to take another piece of paper. If you've got, of course, I need to position it first. So I'm going to scooch it over just a little, and I'm moving it. You can see I'm able to move it on the board. And I did cut this a little too big, but that's okay. And I'm going to lay this on here, and I'm going to use my hands, or I can use a baron or baton, you know, something that, if I've got one. I should be using this, which is something we also have. These are absolutely the best things. You can just put it on, and it changes the way your paintings look. Like all of your paintings will look so much better when they're mounted. So there, I've mounted the painting. Now I've got a little extra glue on the front, but I'm just going to wipe it off. It's not hurting the picture at all. And then it's there. It changes, it makes the transparent papers like these more opaque on a background. So that's why you can collage with these and cut them out, like all your little shapes. This is asagami, by the way. You can do like little fussy cuts, and then what you do after that, you can collage them onto something. You can create little paintings or little things on your Shikishi board. So there's just so much you can do with watercolor and washi paper. And also the washi paper is awesome for gel printing, of course, and all kinds of things. So don't forget to use, get that in your arsenal of supplies, because they're just so much fun. And this same thing, I could glue this on something, not on this one, but let's say I have a painting that I want to add something to, or I could have, let's say I have a greeting card I want to make, and I could put that, somewhere on it. And then using the nori paste or gel medium, you can get the same look. So there we go. I think we're good. I like that, just like that little tea with a flower in it.
That's cute. No, I think we're fantastic. So thank you everybody for joining us. Thank you all for your questions and suggestions. I asked Karen the questions that pertain to her, and I definitely noted down a whole bunch of other things that people offered out there. So thank you as always. We really love connecting with you guys and getting your live feedback and questions. And stay tuned, because I will list all the products that Karen used today in a blog post with links so that you can find them very easily. And we hope that you are leaving into the weekend feeling inspired. Please tag us if you create anything. Karen is at Karen Elaine Creative on Instagram, and we are Yasutomo_art.
And
All right.
so thank you for hanging out with us on this Friday afternoon. And I really hope you're inspired to play. Keep playing.
Yeah, and just one last question that I see. Leslie asked if all these different papers are collectively referred to as washi papers, and yes, the ones that Karen showed us today, they are our washi paper. So we have washi paper sheets, like the ones that she used today, the loose leaf sheets. We also have the Shikishi boards, which are kind of like in a separate category, but they're washi paper mounted onto the board. And we also sell rolls if anyone's looking for something very large, like if you wanted to make scrolls or larger pieces of art.
Yeah, the possibilities are endless, definitely. So
yeah.
Yay. So have a great weekend, everybody.
Thank you. You too, Karen.
Take care. Bye-bye.